couple of years ago, probably about 5 years ago, well, my daughter, where was she? She was probably about 21, maybe 20. She came and volunteered here. And one particular time she came out and Mark picked her up and said, oh, there's a man in there, he's just like your age, Dad, and it's just heartbreaking. And he was really quite taken aback by it and said, oh, well, I hope one day, will that be me one day? And a couple of years later it was. At the top of it, he was a family man, absolutely loved his family to bits, really, and we've been together since we were 16, so everyone loved him. At the end of 2017, I picked him up from work just before Christmas, and he said his neck was sore. So he went to the doctor, a lot of pushing from me, and they found out that, they thought it was a trapped nerve, and that's what they were saying it was. And so he had painkillers, he was signed off work for a couple of weeks. And then as the time went on, it wasn't really getting better, but then he did wee blood, and from there we thought something wasn't quite right. So they were treating that as an infection, but I think, it wasn't going away after antibiotics, and they discovered that he had kidney cancer. So, and it all tumbled into appointments and Oxford and what have you, and they were going to take the kidney out, but he kept saying about his shoulder, and eventually they did a big body scan and found out that the cancer was in his neck. Basically from there onwards it was just going downhill. It was treatment, it was chemotherapy, radiotherapy, immunotherapy. He tried everything, but they did say he only had a year to live at the time. He outdid that a bit, so, because I knew he would. Without the support of Willen, I don't know what I would have done really. When I first walked in here, it's just calming. Compared to all the hospitals you go to, you don't get that feeling when you walk through the door, and you know that everyone is doing their best, as they are in the NHS as well, but it's just a different sort of thing. It's set up for people that are going through this awful time, and it's just a nice feeling as you walk through the door. And Mark felt the same as well. I was speaking to Willen the whole way through the summer, and the week before he died, we were at home still, and we were speaking every single day. Those phone calls got me through that day, because it's a scary thought knowing that you've got someone at home that could die really any minute, and it's from me telling them what was going on that day, they could make up their minds of knowing what is going on, and they so knew that he was coming towards the end of his life. I knew as well, but I probably wasn't. I was just trying to think, okay, we're okay. So they were just waiting for me to come in, and we arranged for him to come on Thursday, and he came in on the Thursday, and it was just the right time for us. I stayed in the room, for 3 nights, and my son came for 2 nights. It was just me and my son in the end. We knew what was the situation was going on. It was very difficult and hard for everyone to have to deal with. So if he'd gone into hospital, we wouldn't have had anyone at all. And I always promised him all the way through this, I'll be with you to the end, and I will sit with you and I'll be with you. Don't worry, you'll always have me there. I couldn't break that promise, so that's why I stayed, and they were quite happy to let me stay. And the chair that opens up, and I slept in that. Sam was on just a normal chair, and the nurses felt so sorry for him. They found him a chair, and you could hear him coming down the corridors with it, trying to get this big chair through the door. So we had both chairs open up, their legs on, blankets on, and Mark in the middle. It was like, and that was another thing. It was even though you're going through a really awful experience, the nurses that are here were just so calming, and you could still find a bit of laughter somewhere just to take the edge of what you're feeling about. And they were just so gentle, and so the knowledge of what they're dealing with was just pouring out of them. It was just amazing. I'm in awe of them. I don't know how they do it. Special people.